All right, the 2023 WNBA regular season tips off on Thursday, May 18th. This season, each team is going to play 40 games. There's a lot of excitement coming off a thrilling 2022 season in the W. So, we have to preview the season. And joining me to break it all down are two of the best covering the WNBA. We've got the co-host of ESPN's Around the Rim, that is Terrika Foster-Brasby, and the founder of Girls Talk Sports TV, Khristina Williams. Ladies, how's it going? Are you as excited as I am for the start of the WNBA season?
It's going great. Super excited about the season tip-off this week.
Yeah, Terrika, I know you're excited about it too, right?
Absolutely. Can't wait for May 19th to get here.
Can't wait for it to start. Okay, ladies, heading into this WNBA season, so much of the talk has been about the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty, just because of the sheer amount of talent on both rosters. In your eyes, of these two super teams, which is the favorite to win the 2023 WNBA title? Terrika, I'm going to start with you first. Who do you got?
Well, if I'm solely speaking on these two teams, and I think I have to preface this with saying that just repeating as back-to-back champions is extremely difficult. It doesn't matter the sport. It's really tough to go back-to-back, but I think that the Las Vegas Aces have the better shot to do it. And we haven't seen repeat champions since the Los Angeles Sparks in 01 and 02. But I think it's really about chemistry, right? And finding ways to gel. And I think that is where Las Vegas has the advantage over the Liberty if we're speaking in these two teams. The core of their team has played together. They know each other. They understand Becky Hammon's system. They're going to only get better with the addition of Candace Parker and Alicia Clark. And the more that she gets acclimated to playing with the core, the Kelsey Plum, the Chelsea Gray, the more that she gets acclimated to that, I feel like the easier that transition is going to become. And Candace is a professional, right? So she understands her role. She knows why she's there. And I feel like this team is really ready to just kind of pick up where they left off. So I think that of the two, they are the better suited to win the WNBA title.
Khristina, do you feel the same way, or are you going with the Liberty here?
I do agree with Terrika on this one. In free agency, the Aces had to address their lack of depth, and they added that in the postseason, as Terrika said, with the addition of Candace Park and Alicia Clark. But they also added some shooters in Kayla George. And so the Aces, most of their starters, they return this season and have signed extensions as well in the offseason. I think that they have what it takes to run the table. We've got a little glimpse of that matchup in the last week in terms of how these two teams would face off. They played in the preseason. The Aces won the match 84-77. Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, and Asia Wilson. I think one thing that stood out to me in that game was they combined for 43 points in the first 20 minutes of that game against the Liberty. Now, we know how brutal it's going to be when it comes down to the wire in terms of the Liberty finalizing their roster. But I think the most important thing for this Liberty squad is just going to be that team chemistry. In training camp, they didn't have a few of their players during training camp due to health reasons and a lot of other reasons as well. So I think that the Liberty, they'll get adjusted, but it'll probably take them a little bit longer.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about the Liberty in a bit as well, too. Now, with all the talk about the two super teams, is there a team or are there teams that fans might be sleeping on in terms of contending for the title? I'm going to start with you on this one, Khristina. What's a sleeper team or teams that you like here?
Well, I'm not sure if you could really consider any team with Elena Delle Donne a sleeper team, but I'm going to have to say the Mystics. Last season, they finished 5th overall with a 22-14 record. They addressed some of the things that they needed to in the offseason, adding key additions like Brittany Sykes, Amanda Zowie. They made some cuts in training camp with the departing of Avina Westbrook, but they gained something in getting Emily Ingsler. And she's been playing very well in the preseason for the Mystics as well. And so I think that that's the team to watch. They won a championship in 2019. And, Elena Delle Donne has come out and said that she feels the best that she has felt since 2019 when the Mystics won the championship and she won the MVP. But also I think that one of the players that might be the sleeper on this squad is Shakira Austin. She had a great rookie season. I'm looking forward to seeing her have a standout sophomore season in the WNBA. I think that she addresses a lot for the Mystics in terms of her defensive presence, especially in the paint. So I'm just looking to see her soar. I want to see her improve on the offensive end, but I think that the Mystics, they have a solid squad. They return all of their core players to the squad and also address some of the shooting issues by adding new players as well. So I think that's the sleeper team when we look at the 23 season.
All right, Mystics as the sleeper team from Khristina. Terrika, where are you on this? Who do you have as your sleeper team or teams this season?
Yeah, I actually had the Mystics as one of my sleeper teams for all of the reasons that Khristina just mentioned, but I'm also going to throw out the Connecticut Sun, and hear me out, okay? I know the loss of Jonquel Jones will certainly hurt, but when you look at the statistics on a per-minute basis, Brianna Jones was actually more valuable to that team last season than Jonquel Jones was from that perspective. I also think that we may have forgotten that we've seen this team without JJ before, right? If people can recall in that season where they had to play in the bubble down in Bradenton, Florida, Jonquel Jones didn't play. It was also the very first time that DeWanna Bonner had joined the team. So this was a team that was led by Alyssa Thomas, DB, and Brianna Jones. And that team made it all the way to the semifinals, which very much had an opportunity to play for a championship. But they ran against a Las Vegas team. And also Alyssa Thomas had an injury that we think, could have possibly made it a bit difficult for her in those closing moments to kind of be the AT that we've seen. But all in all, this team played very well, and we saw that they were able to command their team, command their schedule. They were able to play effectively. So I think that we have to account for that. And the fact that, yes, they also lost Courtney Williams this offseason, but Tiffany Hayes is more than capable of making it up for what the Sun lost in Williams on the offensive side of the ball, and also on the defensive side of the ball as well. When you also couple that with head coach Stephanie White, yes, Kurt Miller was instrumental to this team, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do for the Los Angeles Sparks. But Stephanie White is a person that comes to this team with some finals experience. She's a WNBA champion. She won as an assistant coach with the Indiana Fever back in 2012. And so I think that there was so much focus on what was lost that there wasn't much attention paid to what remained and what stayed. And I don't think it would be fair to kind of sleep on them. I think that they have exactly what they need. They have the coach behind them. And while this roster looks very different, they're very much still capable of being a contender late into the season.
Look, I'm glad you said hear me out, because as soon as you said their name, the Connecticut Sun, I was shocked. I was like, really? We're going there? But you make fair points. I think there's fair points.
Terrika was going to rep Connecticut.
Oh, we knew she was going to rep Connecticut. Terrika, yeah, I mean, she doesn't have Detroit to rep, so I guess this is what we're going to do. But I get it. It was a shock, but I like that. Keep your eye on the Connecticut Sun. Terrika, I'm going to go back to you here. A'ja Wilson, she's won 2 out of the last 3 league MVPs, took home the MVP hardware last year. Can she go back-to-back and repeat as MVP in 2023?
It's super hard to say that A'ja Wilson can't go back and repeat this year. I mean, this is A'ja Wilson that we're referring to. She's one of the most dominant players that we've seen in this game, often compared to Lisa Leslie with her down inside presence, and arguably fair for her to be compared to that. But ultimately, I think that we just have to keep reminding ourselves of how much we are going to see differently in the league this season, given the way that the rosters are shaking up and shaping up in various forms. We don't really know who is going to step up and be that person for their particular team. But what we can say is this: A'ja Wilson always has the mentality that she wants to win. And she always has the mentality that I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. Even in that preseason game against the Liberty, she was very smart enough and well self-aware to know this isn't the team that we're going to possibly have to face later on in the season. They're going to get better. We're going to get better. And I know that I have to be the person to lead my team to do that. And so I will not say that it is not possible for her to be the MVP again. She's been the MVP twice out of the last 3 years. It would be incredible for her to go ahead and make that feat again. But I don't want to sleep on other players who may see this year as a year for them to break out of their shell. And given how the rosters shake up, we could very much see a different person in that position where claiming that title at the end of this season.
Yeah, hard to not see her as a favorite, but you're right. Somebody else could absolutely emerge. Khristina, I'm going to ask you this because we spoke about the draft just about over a month ago. Feels like it was just yesterday. A lot of new young talent in the league this season following the draft back in April. Which rookies are you keeping your eye on in 2023?
Well, you can't talk rookies without talking that #1 draft pick in Aaliyah Boston. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on her during her breakout season in the WNBA. I want to see how else she transitions from college to the pros. And, everyone is expecting her to play at a very high level. We saw what she could do in the preseason. She's great in one-on-one matchups, and we know that the pros will be different than what she experienced in college in terms of being triple and quadruple team. So I'm excited to see Aaliyah Boston thrive. She can exploit single coverage and has amazing footwork. So I'm really excited to see what she does on this Indiana Fever squad. And then, of course, Diamond Miller is a player that I'm also going to keep my eyes on in terms of the rookie. She shined out in the preseason for the Minnesota Lynx. She's had 19 points in her first preseason game, so we know that she can score. She transitioned very well coming into the pros. So those are the two people that I'm going to keep my eyes on coming into the season.
All right, keep your eyes on those rookies coming to the season. Terrika, I'm going to come back to you here with this about Brittney Griner. I'm actually going to have this for both of you guys because she's back in the league after a 10-month detainment in Russia. Her presence and being back with the Mercury is obviously going to be huge, but what do you expect from BG and the Mercury this season? I'll start with you on this one, Terrika.
Yeah, BG this is just such, and I don't know if the term feel-good story is appropriate, but it just feels so darn amazing to have her back home after being detained in Russia. And you can tell that she is ready to play in their preseason game. This is a two-time Defensive Player of the Year. She wants to get back in shape. She wants to be that person to dominate. And you have to credit, just her ambition, and you have to credit, her presence. Anytime she's on the floor, you have to account for her being there. You have to expect that she's going to be a dominating force. And so I expect Brittney to come out and do just that, to want to dominate again. I think it would be unfair, to be completely honest, to put so much pressure on her. And I've said this throughout the entire time that we weren't sure what she was going to do. And then she came out and said she wanted to remain playing for the Phoenix Mercury. And then again, we said we wanted to wait and see how her mental health was going to be. And she comes to a press conference and she's smiling, and you can see the joy in her face. And so I say all that to say that when we have seen her this preseason, she wasn't hesitant to be aggressive. She very much wanted to be aggressive in the paint. She very much wanted to get rebounds. She very much wanted the ball in her hands. She very much did not want to be the person that created turnover. She wanted to show that she was back and she's ready and she's attentive to what needs to happen for her team. And I love that for her. And so I expect her to continue to do that. I don't know where this Phoenix Mercury's team is going to fare this season. We don't know, if Skylar's going to return after maternity leave. We don't know how prepared Diana Taurasi is going to be given the injuries that she saw last year. We don't know what role, players are going to step up and be, where Shea Petty's going to land, how Sophie Cunningham's going. We don't know what this team is really going to look like. And I think all of us want to say they're going to end up back where they were in the WNBA finals because Brittney Griner is back. But the truth of the matter is we simply do not know. So I think the only thing for me that we can expect from her is to really come out and really give it her all and see if she can get back into that basketball shape where she wants to be. So by midseason, we'll have a better outlook of where Brittney is trending this season for her team.
Khristina, when you hear that and what Terrika brings up, there's a lot of questions around the Phoenix Mercury and BG. Do you expect BG to get back to where she was before, or are you kind of being patient with this on a wait-and-see thing as well, too?
I'm absolutely agreeing with Terrika on everything that she said in terms of we're putting such high expectations on BG. I mean, she was nearly detained for 10 months, and she knows that it's going to be a process. In the preseason, she said, I'm not where I want to be, but I am on the right track. And I admire BG just for her determination and courage to even play this season after all that she experienced. But you got to remember this. The last time BG played for the Phoenix Mercury was in 2021, Game 4 of the WNBA Finals. And that team was entirely different. The coaching staff was different, and the ownership was different. So BG is coming into the 23 season with an entire new coaching staff, some new teammates. So I think that it's going to take her a little bit to get adjusted. But BG is the best player at her position, period, in the history of the league. And so I think that we'll see her back in her rear form, as Terrika said, mid-season, but you have to just give her some grace as she gets adjusted back to being in the W.
All right, got to give her some grace. All right, I'm going to keep it local here, and this one is going to be for you, Khristina. We're going to talk about the Liberty for a second. They are likely the favorites in the East. What do you think needs to happen for New York to reach their potential this season?
The number one thing that was expressed in training camp by Coach Sandy Brondello was the need for the team to build chemistry, and the identity of the team that she wants to shape moving forward is to be a defensive first team. And so you're going to lean heavily on players like Kayla Thornton, Dee Richards, Banaja Laney, Brianna Stewart, Jonquel Jones to make up that part of the defense for the New York Liberty. I also think that team chemistry is going to be key. We know that some players are familiar with one another because they played overseas together, but then also they have to clean up a lot of their rebounding. That was a big issue in the 2022 season. I think they addressed that with getting some help in acquiring players in the offseason. I think also they need to complete defensive possessions and just really believe in one another to win. The Aces is a tough squad. Free agency made other teams tough squads as well. So in order for the Liberty to just reach their full potential, they just have to build that team chemistry and get better on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, we'll see how that all plays out for the Liberty. Terrika, I'm going to bring it back to the Aces with you for a second and just kind of ask this generally. Which team is the most pressure to win this season? Is it the Aces because right now they're the betting favorites? Or is it the Liberty, who Khristina just talked about, because they're trying to win their first ever championship? Which team is the most pressure to win this season?
I would think that it's going to be the Liberty that would have the most pressure to win this season. The Aces have done it. The Aces have done exactly what they set out to do. Let's not forget that this is a team that has not been a franchise for 10 years yet. And they already have their WNBA championship under their belt. This is a team that throughout the many things that were, said about them and, bringing in Becky Hammon and how she was going to coach this team after not being a head coach, in the WNBA before. And there were so many questions around her style and how this team was going to play together. And then you think about the things that came along with, losing Liz Cambage and all these other questions that this team still pull through to win a championship. They don't have anything else to prove. And as I stated earlier, going back to back is tough. It's tough in any sport. It's why we don't see it as often, because it's really tough. The Liberty, on the other hand, made some massive roster changes. They're a team who, for better or for worse, have been predicted to get better every single year. And every single year, it seems that there's one thing or two things that hinders them, that helps them to fall short, whether that's injuries, whether that's, and really that's really been the thing that has plagued this team specifically when we look at Sabrina Ionescu and her career, and we look at, different people in places. It's been injuries, hurt at the wrong moment, not seeing people at the right time. And so I feel like this season, the Liberty went out on a limb. And the leadership and management of this team did exactly what they wanted to do, was do anything and everything it takes to put this team in the best position to win. And they've done that. You've got all-stars, you've got MVPs. You, again, as everything that Khristina has mentioned, you know what it is that you need to do and what you need to work on to make you better. Now you've got to do it. Now you've got to execute it. I think Sandy Brondello is one of the best coaches in this league, and she definitely has the potential to bring out the best in her players. I want to see that happen. But I think it's absolutely the New York Liberty that has the most pressure to win. It's not going to simply be, we got to get into the playoffs. You've done that. You need to win a series in the playoffs. You need to get to the finals. And that is everything that New Yorkers are going to expect. That's what WNBA fans are going to expect. And again, it might not necessarily be fair, because you definitely need time to gel. You need time to build that chemistry. You need time to know each other. But unfortunately, when you bring a Brianna Stewart and a Jonquel Jones and a Courtney Vandersloot to your team, you don't get time to gel. You need to win and win now. And so that, to me, is where the expectation is.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see it as not being finals or bust for the Liberty this season. So that's what the expectations are. Okay, ladies, last thing here is prediction time. Who do you have playing each other in the 2023 WNBA Finals, and who will be crowned champion this year? Khristina, you're up first.
Ooh, y'all gonna put me on the spot.
Put you on the spot. Yeah, just like that.
I'm going to have to say, we know it's early on, but I'm going to go with the top two favorites, the Aces, the Liberty. I think that the Liberty, they're going to feel some kinks early on in the season, but they're going to get it together. And any team that you put Brianna Stewart on, I feel like is automatically championship contenders. The same with the Aces. You put Candace Parker in the mix with that solid core that they have, and they're going to be unstoppable. So I have those two teams facing off in the WNBA championship. And I'm going to have to go with the Aces to win. I know I said the Liberty on a few other shows, But if we're talking about early on in the season, just based off what we see, I'm going to say the Aces. And it could change mid-season for me, but as of right now, I'm going to say the Aces.
All right, we're going to check in with you mid-season and see how that pick is. Maybe you might throw another team in there. We'll check that for sure. Terrika, where are you going with your finals pick, and who do you have winning it all?
This is totally unfair. Okay. I haven't the slightest idea. I believe the Aces will absolutely be in the WNBA finals, but I honestly have no idea who they could be matching up against. I'm not so sold that it's the Liberty. I'm also not sold that it's any other team. I feel like it could possibly be the Mystics, believe it or not. I feel really strong about them and what their potential could be this year. So I do think that Aces will pull off something that we don't rarely see, and that is going back-to-back as champions. But I have no idea who they're going to be facing against. But like Khristina, I want to reserve judgment.
Here we go.
Like July, come back to me in July and see where we are, and I might have another contender in there, but I don't know who. I just really don't know who that other person is. I do think the Aces will be in the finals, and I do think that they have the best chance to win the championship again.
Okay, so we have Khristina making different picks on different shows. We've got you saying you don't know.
It's too early, Dexter.
You know what? You're right. It's early, and you know what? People shouldn't be held to such high standards for predictions, right, ladies? I think I agree with Khristina. You reserve the right to change your pick, and we'll check in mid-season and see how you guys are doing. But you know what, ladies? This was great. I've been wanting to get together with you guys for some time, talk some WNBA hoops. We got to do that. Everybody, please check out the work of Terrika Foster-Brasby. She's co-host of ESPN's Around the Rim. Check that out. And also Khristina Williams. She's the founder of Girls Talk Sports TV. She also does great work. Both of these ladies do great work, covering the WNBA. So glad to preview the season with you. We're going to talk more as we continue. And I'm going to check in on those predictions or non-prediction that Terrika gave us here. I don't know what to call it, but it was something. I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dexter.
Anytime.
Thank you, Dexter.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate y'all.